Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco. I'm an integrative physician, a pediatrician, and a cranial osteopath. And I'm here with a special guest, Daniel Eby, and he spent the week with me in my practice. So we are going to talk a little bit about that because I feel it's important to share these moments because there's so much more that we can access through osteopathy, through collaborating with the patients. And if we can share those moments, then we can inspire each other as well. So a little bit of background with my practice. As I said, I'm also a cranial osteopath, but part of my interest and my passion is working with emotional stress and trauma release and how to integrate that into the appointment, into the osteopathic treatment safely and efficiently and effectively, and how others can do that as well. And so we teach that in the Dig On series, exploring osteopathy, exploring consciousness through osteopathy. And I thought that we could talk with Daniel here today to hear more about his experience as well. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me here.
Can you just let everyone know where you are right now in your studies and a little bit more about your background? Like, why did you choose osteopathy?
Yeah, sure. I'm in my fourth year of medical school. I'm at Lincoln Memorial University, DeBusk College of Osteopathic Medicine, which is in Eastern Tennessee. I just have 2 months left, and then I will be starting my residency in family medicine. That's still, we'll see where I get. Match is coming up in about a month, so I still got to wait on that. As far as osteopathic medicine, growing up, I just always appreciated more of the hands-on healing, and I got involved into meditation in college, and I enjoyed just reflecting and looking at things differently, and just looking at alternative ways of healing. And I was fortunate enough to shadow a cranial osteopath before medical school, and that really confirmed this is the direction I wanted to head towards. And so I'm just excited to.
Yeah.
This is a really fun week, seeing everything that you've been able to incorporate.
Can I ask you something about just what you said? In college, you were interested in meditating. That is just not something I hear commonly from, people in college. So can you tell a little bit more about that? Like, why were you interested in meditating? Like, why was that something you gravitated towards? Where did that come from?
Yeah, sure. So it's a pretty funny story. So I was studying marketing. I took a few internships, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. And I was actually studying abroad in Australia, and I was taking a few different courses there, and one of them was a Buddhism course. And so through that class, we learned a lot more about meditation, and I just really enjoyed how it felt. And so I started. I was only a couple miles from the beach, so I was running to the beach late at night and practicing meditation, and I just kept having these recurrent thoughts of, maybe marketing isn't what I should be doing. Maybe I need to be doing, helping others somehow, something more hands-on. And that was kind of where it started. I actually looked at chiropractic schools for a while, and eventually I realized I just need to develop that confidence. And that's when I went towards medical school, and shadowing that cranial osteopath really felt like the fit I needed. So
yeah. But I mean, I think it's great you actually have some marketing background because we need to get this information out. And, you saw these patients that came in and their experiences, and they, some of the new ones were like, I didn't know about this before. I wish I knew about this sooner. And so like being able for us to get together and be able to share this and get the information out is so helpful. So I guess, can you tell us more about like your experience this week? And I know we saw like all different kinds of patients, and every single one of them is so amazing. interesting, and we are teaching each other. Like, we learn something from the patients, and they're learning something from us as well. But having walked in here, because I've been doing this for a number of years, so I'm so curious about like what your perspective is on coming into a situation like this, which this is my norm now. But what does it look like to you? What were your take home, concepts, your aha moments, and anything you could share?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I for some reason, I heard about you on the OMM podcast, and
Uh-huh.
through that, I knew I just wanted to reach out to you, and we met at the AOA convocation
Uh-huh.
last year,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah, with AU in
yeah,
West, yeah.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, and you were like, you should stop by sometime, and so I've been really excited all year for this. But yeah, coming into it, I've worked with many osteopaths throughout my medical career, and just the last few months, I've been seeking out other ones to work
Uh-huh.
with too. And you just have such a different, unique approach where um, I think it's just powerful. It's beautiful,
Uh-huh.
and many of these encounters, I wanted to tear up. Just
Mm.
just this experience was just um, it's just beautiful, like I said. But coming in, I didn't know what to expect. I was pretty
Mhm.
open-minded. I think everyone has a unique approach to it,
Mhm.
but seeing how you're able to connect with the patients and their emotions, and um, being able to figure out where they need help, but then also allowing them to see where they can help themselves, I think was
Mhm.
so key for me to see. And Yeah, I'm trying to think of, um, should I
Yeah, you can
keep
go
going
ahead.
with some experiences?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, several patients just, scream out, just kind of getting out some of their
Uh-huh.
emotions that way, a lot of tears, just a lot of emotions. And afterwards, just people feeling incredible, just feeling much better about themselves, feeling more centered. And I think, um, yeah.
I mean, and then since you have this osteopathic training,
Mhm,
it's really neat because you also have this gauge of like what's going on. And so and many of the patients, like when Daniel was saying like screaming, they were doing this imaginary scream. So they don't even have to like scream out loud in the office. It can just be the imagination of it because it's the same, similar, or the same to your brain. But what did you witness, like, from an osteopathic, kind of assessment as they were doing these things?
I would say, as yeah, with my hands on, I noticed just a change in their cranial mechanism, just throughout their body. Things soften up, whether that's different organs, different musculoskeletal areas. Also, we met for most of the patients
Mhm,
just having that vagus nerve release
mhm,
and hearing bowel sounds clear. We had one patient, we clearly heard, we were working on the gallbladder
mhm.
and heard that, the
Squirt.
squirt of the gallbladder, um things like that. But feeling a just much more flow through each patient by the end of
Uh-huh,
each treatment, and just feeling like they're in a much more balanced and just healthier state where they could go off and keep working on the things that you want them to
uh-huh,
work on with themselves, but um, in a good healthy state
uh-huh.
where they can grow. And
Yeah, and then all the of the things that you mentioned that you saw, like, shifts, and what's really fun is that sometimes there's multiple shifts at the same time.
Mhm.
So it's something that's integrating when the patients are able to release and process in a way, or even watching them shift their perspective, and then it's almost instantaneous,
Yes.
the shift in the organs, the diaphragm, the sacrum, like all at once, more than you could treat with your hands individually,
Yes.
like the
Yes.
efficiency of it.
Yes, very much more efficient way of treating, and I think just being able to incorporate everything at once, like you said, and um, I think allowing the patient to treat the way they need to be treated instead of forcing something that um, might seem like it resolves, but it will probably come back later because it wasn't the true root cause of the problem. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, being able to see that was
Yeah.
incredible and something I'm going to
And
strive for as I keep training.
And I'm glad you took notes, because like every day there's so much going on every day, and it's like you don't really remember every single treatment. But even just reflecting on the morning of appointments, and seeing like this one woman who was like, things were pretty solid feeling in terms of the compression, the intensity of it, and that frozen feeling in her body. And then watching those areas, just witnessing in this real loving, neutral way of watching her release them, and us being the assist versus us, like, moving them for her.
Yeah, we weren't forcing anything. She
No.
was doing it all herself, and we're just sitting there observing essentially with our hands
Yeah.
and
And
yeah.
an area that looked really tight, like, as we were talking, I was like, "Oh, yeah, it looks like it's really restricted,
hmm
or it looks like this area is really compressed, uh, and how about let it be so?" And so, like, at that moment when together we're like, "Okay, this is her state of being, and that's okay."
Yes, respecting where
Yes.
where she's at, and that allowed things to
Yeah.
just fully open up
Uh-huh.
and release, and
At that
at
moment,
that
yeah,
moment.
at that
hmm
moment, when with the okayness of it, like, she really,
hmm
I mean, it was, so much at once.
Yes.
But, and we're constantly also monitoring ourselves as well, because if that's part of the safety, if someone's going through an intense situation, it's like, what is my role here, and how do I feel okay with it? And so taking care of yourself during
hmm
any of these moments, both for the patient, for this person in front of you, for their safety, and then as well as yours. So you're not using your energy for the treatment. And uh, I feel like it's a really amazing approach that helps us access more depth and efficiency of treatment, helps you maintain your practice in a more sustainable way, because you're not draining yourself to treat. And I know that's a common question, uh, both early on, but even through the years of, like, how do you not get drained with seeing such intensities, and people going through so many different things?
And I asked you that question. I think it was the first day. How do you
Uh-huh.
not absorb all this yourself? How do you keep up a barrier, or what do you do? I've asked several other um, physicians this question, and you answered it beautifully. You said, "Well, you know who you are as a person, and you know what's yours and what isn't, and I think some people need to." It just shows your level of confidence in yourself,
Yeah.
um, and just being able to um, help the patient when
Yeah.
they need it, but then being true to yourself.
Mhm.
And I just that's something I'm going to remember and keep working on myself.
Right. So in terms of what you were saying, like, how do you not take on
hmm
things when you're seeing so many difficult things and people going through their intense situation, is if you see your light, and if you understand your light, and you feel connected with your own essence and your light, then anything that you face won't cast a shadow on you. You won't feel that ripple. And it's okay if you do. It's part of your humanity. You're supposed to be able to feel, but you'll always have this resilience of being able to return to your nature, your essence, your light, and feel that connection. And that's how you can walk through difficult situations, working with patients that are going through intense things, walking through times or situations that might feel more chaotic, that you can still maintain this connection with your essence. And then I would say the second thing is also understanding your role. You're here to assist, not to fix. And if you maintain that trust in the stillness and knowing that everything is unfolding as it's supposed to, even if it doesn't look comfortable, even if it doesn't feel comfortable, it's okay. Everything is as unfolding as it's supposed to, and you're here to assist and help and follow the calling of the stillness. If you go into it as a hero, that you really want to fix things and have that ego, like, I'm going to be doing these things to help this person. It's not that we don't do, but it's the perspective and the mindset intention of it, of allowing things and following the calling. We What we do is follow the calling. So if you're matching that, then let everything unfold as it needs to. So you don't have to be the hero and force anything in one direction or the other. And because if you do that, if you decide like you're the hero, then at times where it doesn't look like things don't unfold as you would like them to, then you're going to feel like the victim. You're going to not feel like a hero, and therefore you're going to feel like a victim. And you're going to need this patient to look a certain way for you to feel okay about yourself. And that's a big thing in terms of learning as a physician, and anyone that's a caretaker and helping a parent, taking care of your kids and learning to love no matter what, love yourself no matter what, love them no matter what. And therefore you don't have to be the hero and you don't have to be the victim. So that's my nutshell version.
Yeah, yeah, and that is great, and that's something I'm going to keep on working on. I think, as I go through more of my training, and but yeah, you said it perfectly.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share? Like, how do you think this will impact your further studies and education, osteopathy, and then your practice later on too?
I think one thing is I've always been interested in the different chakras and our different centers through the body, and how do we connect with those? Is that something, because that's not something we talk about in osteopathic medical school, and so I think learning more about those and how to um, connect those to different organs is something I picked up on. Um, Also, using emotions and just, I think, working on my intuition is something that I definitely took away from this, is just learning to trust myself, and um, when I have a certain thought, learning to trust that there's a reason I'm having that thought, and using that to help, with my treatments and with patients. But I'm going to keep on growing, and I look forward to doing the Dig On series, with you, and whenever I can, whether it's in residency or after. But
When the
um,
time is right.
when
Yeah.
the time is
Yeah.
right, and yeah, I just look forward to keep on working with you in the future. Well, another thing that really stood out to me, with working with you this week was, it took me a while to put this together, trying to figure out how your approach is so different from everyone else I've worked with so far. And I think a big part of that is, you became the MD first, as
Uh-huh.
pediatrician, then you got the integrative medicine, and then while searching for other things, you became the cranial osteopath. And so I think taking all of your life experiences and then adding them into cranial osteopathy and seeing things totally different, I think is crucial. I think it's much different from most osteopaths who are coming into med school. and we're learning everything by the book and from our preceptors, and we're learning all these different techniques and different methods on treating our patients. And you took a roundabout way, and I think that helped because you didn't feel like there were these certain limits and restrictions with just how we were taught. You were able to get creative and incorporate things in your own way, and I think that's how you've been able to, um, truly come up with a different approach that is extremely successful with your patients, and that's beautiful and inspiring to see.
It's so interesting for me to hear this because this is all I know. And then for a long time, I was like, well, I don't have that background. So anything I know is just a small fraction of what any DO osteopath would know. And because I've been practicing by myself for a while, I didn't even have anyone to bounce ideas off or have that comparison of like, well, how do other people do it? I actually had to just figure out things by necessity. And then for me, necessity was like, well, I have to build some sort of trust in myself because it's me in the stillness. And I had no preceptor or no attending to ask anything. And so I built my data points by following whatever I heard from stillness and seeing if those worked out. And if they did work out, then I would keep moving in that direction. So for me, it was like complete necessity because otherwise, how would I know how to do anything? How would I know what steps to take? And so sometimes I describe it to people as like, I feel like I learned how to play the piano or play music without learning to read the notes first. And now I'm going back and like, I filled in some of that detail of like learning to read things and learning to use the terminology. But I had to develop the perception and the trust first before that.
Exactly. And I think it's just beautiful. I think osteopathy needs it. I think our patients need it. And we're just so happy to have you here, teaching these courses, teaching students like me, and, teaching our patients. So thank you.
That's great to hear. And I appreciate you saying that because the Dig On series is 2 years old. And so 3 years ago, I didn't actually realize that I had anything to teach the profession.
And that's crazy. that blows
like
my
I
mind.
really had no, I was like, oh, maybe when I'm, decades down the road, I'll circle back around. I was mainly focused on working with my patients and showing them things. But then I learned just through friends and colleagues, starting to ask questions of, I was like, oh, I thought everyone knew that because I've just been an island and my this is my normal island, and I know everyone does things differently, but I didn't really I didn't appreciate for myself even just a few years ago how valuable that information was. So hearing people appreciate actually is helpful for me to know. It's like, wow, because it's a lot of work to put these things together, but I also see that I will be able to help more people, and Dr. Jim Gatos and I will be able to help more people if we teach and not keep this information to ourselves. So then you do it, and people in your same level of training have been able to access like miraculous results even after part 1. So after a weekend workshop, this is built on osteopathic training, built on having taken introductory cranial course, but to see what they're able to do with that is phenomenal. So after a couple of years, we're getting the stories back in, and it's so fun. It's like watching your kids grow up, but you never know what they're going to do and if they're going to listen to you. Sometimes it works out, and no matter what, they're all unique and beautiful. And to see everyone take this and understand it as an art and use it in their way from their unique perspective and their essence, and we get to color the world this way. And that's a beautiful thing to have all of these differences but united in in our desire to help people and desire to see things through the lens of a loving perspective through the stillness. And I feel that's what unites osteopaths too, from a bigger picture.
Definitely.
Where there's no, yeah, it's a big family and sometimes they fight, but we really have us united in our purpose.
Yeah, we all have the same end goal to, help our patients and yeah, get people feeling better. And yeah, it's been a wonderful opportunity here. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. It's been amazing having you here. And it also helps me expand my perspectives because I'm also looking at like, oh, how are you looking at things and what would be helpful for you to know? And then the patients actually have some fun because they get to hear me explain things in a different way. And of course you have this natural warmth and the patients like get along with you great, but you just take that and keep cultivating it and running with it and stay in the ease. And so even all the parts that seem hard, it's like, well, do the small thing that's easy and then keep going, and then that builds, and at some point you see it all comes together.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thanks everyone for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. You can always place a comment below. Like, subscribe, share this with anyone you feel that would need it. And we always have the Dig On series of osteopathic courses. So this is exploring consciousness through osteopathy. We have parts 1, 2, and 3. And that is sensing and releasing emotional shock, parts 1 and 2. In the first one, we learn how to perceive the emotional body directly and safely. Safety is my number one. And then the second one, we fill in more detail with that. And third one, we get more esoteric and add the wisdom from the Edgar Cayce readings and the early osteopaths and how they integrated that with the presence in the body, soul presence in the body, grounding in the body even more, and an understanding with that. We are also developing some other courses and fun things like an osteopathic retreat, which we're going to do in Sedona in October 2025 is going to be our first one. So we are looking forward to doing that. If you feel called to join us, we would love to have you. We're going to integrate osteopathic teachings with some other fun experientials from the elements, the rhythms, food, and exploring with our osteopathic colleagues and other holistic practitioners into shamanic learning. So we're going to have like some retreat portions with that are not mandatory. They're just for whoever would like to join after the regular osteopathic courses and labs. So thank you, everyone. Great to have you here, and we'll see you next time.